Hello students, hello all. I am Miss Amrita Zadhav, your physics teacher, and I am welcoming you all to the series of wave optics, in which we are here at part 4 of wave optics. In the part 1, 2 and 3 we have discussed all the concepts which are related to wave theories of light, right, in which we have seen theories which are related to waves and principles which are related to waves, and also we have seen more interesting fact which is polarization in last lecture. And now moving towards the next interesting fact about waves, which is interference of light. What exactly interference is, I will give you some examples and you will come to know what exactly we are going to see in this part. So you must have seen butterfly. When water is there on the floor, then what happens exactly over it? When oil falls on road, then it creates some color pattern on it, so it is nothing but interference of light. So the basic concepts which you must have known, we are going to discuss in detail about interference. Okay, so let's move towards our session, which is part 4 of wave optics. Before moving towards, as usual, we are going to see the points which we have learned in the previous lecture. All right, so the in previous lecture we have done polarization, and also we have seen Brewster's law. So what is exactly polarization? Polarization is nothing but restrictions which are there on the waves, by which a wave comes in restricted form, it is in a plane form, so it is called as polarization. The basic thing about polarization you have to remind is only transverse wave will give the phenomena of polarization. Longitudinal wave will not give you this phenomena. All right, so next which we have seen is Brewster's law. What is Brewster's law? Mathematical, I am going to remind you, which is tan of polarizing angle is nothing but ratios of refractive index of two mediums. We have considered two mediums in which rays is falling on it, and it gets reflected as well as it gets polarized. So that was the Brewster's law. Also we have seen some concepts regarding polarization, and we have seen the uses of polarization, many concepts and many things we have learned in the last lecture which deals with the polarization concept. All right, so let's move towards today's lecture, in which we are going to see interference. It is very interesting fact. See, you can see the GIF over here, in which you can see water waves are there. We have seen in very first part of wave optics, in which I have given the example that when we usually do this, when we go near to water or river, dam, etc., what we throw a stone in water so as to create some waves in it, and it should jump to 2 3 surfaces on water wave. So this is what we done, but exactly what happens when we throw a stone in water, it creates a circular forms. We says it is, in terms of waves, it is wavefronts, and it creates some more waves moving forward from the single point. All right, so when two exactly similar stones, when we throw, and it creates some pattern like this, here is the first stone and here is the second stone, suppose. So the waves which are created by both of this will try to interfere with each other, and when they interfere, what exactly happens and what phenomena exactly happens over there, that is we are going to see in this video. All right, so let's move towards it. What points we are going to cover is, first is interference, obviously. Then we are going to see types of interference, then coherent sources of light, and then the last point which we are going to see is Young's double slit experiment. All right, so these are the 4 points which we are going to study in this video. So quickly moving towards first point, which is interference. I hope you all have seen the all three parts which are related to wave theory of light and polarization also. After understanding that, just go forward to the fourth part. All right, so here is the concept that I am talking about, which is interference. Before moving towards the exact point, I just wanted to remind you that we have seen sound waves, in which we have also seen that superposition principle. What is superposition principle? Superposition principle tells us that when two or more waves interfere with each other, the displacement may change, right? So the resultant displacement of a particle of the medium at any given point is sum of displacement of the particles produced by individual wave. Suppose there is one wave like this, so the displacement will be from initial point to final point, obviously. But when two or more wave is going to interfere with each other, we are not getting exact idea about the displacement, but the resultant displacement is nothing but or given by the particles which are there inside individual waves. All right, so this is nothing but superposition principle of waves. So in superposition principle also we have studied about when two waves interfere, they may interfere in two types. Either one part of wave, upper part of one wave will coincide with upper part of another wave, or upper part of one wave will coincide with the lower part. We in physics language, upper part of the wave is known as crest and lower part of the wave is known as trough. So when crest fall on crest and trough fall on trough, it gives you some definite picture and it creates a larger displacement. While particle present where the crest of one wave coincide with the trough of another, what happens over there? Displacement will be minimum, because two different particles, two different substances are coinciding. That means one from crest and one from trough. These two particles when coincide, it will give minimum displacement nearly equal to 0, we can say. And what happens to the amplitude over there? In first case, the amplitude in first case means when crest is falling on crest and trough is falling on trough. In that case, amplitude of two waves are equal. So the displacement will be the twice the amplitude of a individual wave. But what happens to the second, when crest is falling on trough or a trough is falling on crest? What happens over there? Displacement will be 0. Alright, so this is what we are going to see in this. So let's move towards the main point, which is interference. So here we have seen write the same point which deals with the superposition principle, which is when two or more waves overlap, the resultant displacement of a particle of the medium at any given point is sum of the displacement of the particle produced by individual waves, as if each wave is the only one which is present. This is superposition principle. All right. The particle in the medium present where crest of one wave coincide will have larger displacement. Actually, I want to say this in terms of when crest of one wave fall on crest of another wave, the larger displacement will produce, and exactly opposite when happens, the displacement will be minimum, that we have discussed. If the amplitudes equal for the first set of particles, that means when same crest is falling on crest or trough is falling on trough, amplitude will be equal and displacement will be twice the amplitude. And what happens to the second? Displacement will be 0, that we have seen just right now. So the exact or the all these combinedly known as interference, or you can say the intensity is proportional to amplitude square and will be non-uniform, being larger at some places and smaller at some places. It will be darker in some point and it will be brighter in some side. So this exactly nothing but interference. Okay, I hope you got the idea about it. Let's move towards next point, which is types of interference. You will come to know exactly what it is, don't worry. So here is the next point, which is types of interference. Have a look at the GIF and you will come to know what exactly it is. 3 waves are there, in which when 2 waves, see, constructive and destructive is popping over there. When constructive is popping and when destructive is popping, I will show you. When this blue and this wave, when same crest is falling on crest, it appears over here constructive. Here you can see this constructive, and when crest and trough this way, destructive will happen. So these are the 2 types of interference. Point where crest of one wave coincides with the crest of another wave, and where trough of one wave coincides with the trough of another. At this point, displacement is maximum and twice that of each wave is called as constructive interference. Amplitude is twice. And next one is destructive. The points where crest of one wave coincides with trough of another wave, then displacement is 0 and it is known as destructive interference. So this is all about 2 types. Here is another diagram. The diagram which you must have seen in your textbook is this, in which S1 and S2 are the 2 sources. They are sending waves in forward directions, and when, see, blue dotted lines gives you constructive interference. Means constructive means what? Crest of one wave is falling on crest of another, same is falling to another same one. So this is nothing but constructive interference, and the red dots gives you destructive interference. Here is another GIF. From that you will come to know exactly idea about the interference patterns or interference. See how the displacement will become 0. On y-axis 1 and -1, and in between obviously 0 is there, origin is there, and wave is traveling. When first wave is falling on another wave, this and this. When it falls, this is given by the color dot. See, blue, blue, blue. This +1 and this will be -1. It will be again 0. This is on 0 itself. Another one is -1 and this will be +1. So displacement will become 0 itself. So in destructive pattern, it gives you destructive interference. Alright, all the construction will be destructed. So that is known as destructive interference. So let's move towards our next point, which is coherent sources of light. Now what exactly coherent sources of light? As we have says that when 2 or more waves interfere with each other, right? So there exists a pattern, or there exists a phenomena which is known as interference, in which sometimes we are getting displacement maximum, at some points we are getting minimum displacement. So that pattern is combinedly known as interference, right? But do you have any query about many times, or we have seen multiple sources all around us, they must overlapping with each other, right? Many light sources are there, they must have overlap, but they are not creating interference pattern all the time. So there should be some condition by which we are getting interference pattern, right? Why they are not giving interference pattern when we are saying about any light source? Suppose we are considering 2 bulbs are lighting near to each other. Do they create exactly the interference pattern? No, they are not creating interference pattern. Why this is so? Because different sources emit waves of different frequency, and even they emit waves of same frequency, they are not in phase. They must have different phases. So the condition to get interference pattern is 2 sources which emitting light waves in forward direction, that should be emit waves of same frequency, having constant phase difference and independent of time, and also they should be in the same phase. So this will give you idea about coherence. That is nothing but coherent sources. When two sources having same frequency, constant phase difference and independent of time, it is called as coherent sources. So that's why many light which are overlapping with each to another, they are not showing us an interference pattern. Very rare light will give you the interference pattern. So what are the rare sources? These should be coherent sources, then only you are getting an interference pattern. Alright, so this is all about coherence. The more about this we are going to see in another video also, how to get the coherent sources. We are not getting the coherent sources directly, we have to convert it. So that we are going to see, and the answer for this is in next slide also. So let's move towards the next, in which we are getting coherent light source. By how? That is been explained by Young. Young is the scientist who discovered this experiment, in which we have not used two sources, but we have done an arrangement in which we are getting sources like they are having two parts, such as this. See, there are two ways. First way is a single source is there which is emitting light in forward direction, and we put a convex lens in front of it, and then AB is nothing but a screen having two similar narrow slits, which is S1 and S2. Holes are there, S1 and S2, two holes. So when light is emitting from S, which is a single light source, will go towards S1 and S2, and it will create light sources to be travel in forward direction continuously. So there is no question of producing coherent sources. That means there are no two sources, we are just getting two slits from which a light is moving forward. So this is all about it. And as we have seen, or as we have said, the convex lens is placed in between them. What exactly the convex lens does? That convex lens gives you the light which merge on convex lens, and it will be move towards the another. The role of convex lens is to merge the light towards the two slits. Alright, by placing it focus, what will exactly does, the rays which are coming out of the lens will be parallel rays, and wavefront will be the plane wavefront. So this is the main role of convex lens. Alright, so let's see what exactly happens. And the main condition is S1 and S2 are equidistant from S. This S1 and S2 are equidistant from S. That is the main condition. As I said, there are two conditions. Either we can put a convex lens, or without convex lens also we can does this experiment. So you can see in this GIF only one source is there, and it is emitting light wave towards the screen which is there, which is AB, what we have seen, and then it is moving forward. As all the waves will try to emit light wave in forward direction, according to Huygens principle, they will be behaving like secondary source of light, and they will try to emit light waves in forward direction, and the pattern is created. What kind of pattern is created? As we have seen, there are two types, constructive and destructive. So here you can see the blue dotted line will give you constructive interference. Alright, and on the screen you can see the light in brighter form, and when the destructive interferences happens, then on the screen you can see the darker part of the light. That means when we are using a yellow light, so this part will be faint yellow, and the destructive pattern happens at that point, we are getting a darker yellow color. So the darker bright, dark bright, dark bright, the alternate color band is forming, and this is nothing but interference band. So this is what we are getting. Okay, so here you can see darker, this is nothing but destructive interference, and this bright is nothing but constructive interference. There are some conditions to form these bands. We are going to see this in the another slide also. So this is all about interference, by which we are getting a pattern or the bands in which bright and dark band are alternately forming. So this is all about Young's double slit experiment. Here, this is the construction. When the rays falls on S1 and S2, the slits will act like a secondary source of light and emitting secondary light waves in all possible direction, which is in forward direction only. The two secondary sources emit waves in phase with each other at all the times that we have discussed. The crest or trough of secondary wavelets superpose and interfere constructively along the straight line joining the blue dots. And the points where these lines meet the screen have high intensity, and these are bright bands. So you have to remember this. When constructive interference happens, the displacement is maximum, intensity is maximum, and the band is in bright. When the destructive pattern happens, then the displacement is zero, amplitude is minimum, and the band we are getting is dark. It is darker. So this is what you are going to see in this. These are dark regions on the screen as shown in the right when destructive patterns happen, and the dark and bright regions are called fringes. The word for that is fringes, and the whole pattern is called as interference pattern. So this is all about interference pattern, and this is all about Young's double slit experiment. Why it is called as double slit? Because there are two slits which are equidistant from the source. That is the main condition. So we have to determine the position of the fringes, how they are located, at what distance they are located, fringes. So that we have to see. So let us see. This is the diagram. Geometrical diagram is this. S is the source over here. S1 and S2 are the two sources. Then when light incident on this and this, suppose we are getting a point P where both are interfering at this point. The waves which are traveling from S1 and S2 interfering at point P. Suppose we are considering that. We don't know the point is either bright or dark. How we are going to decide it? That we are going to see in this method also. Okay, so the point which is here is at a distance y from center of this boat. Alright, so S1 and S2 are two slits which are at distance d from each other. O is the center of that. By drawing a dotted line towards the screen, we are getting the second point as S1 dash. By drawing the line towards the second point, which is S2 dash, here the center will be O dash. Okay, distance between this slit and source is capital D. This is along X, so it is X over here. This is along Y, so Y is written over here. So the distance of that point, which is P point, from O dash is Y. Okay, then what will be PS dash? This, what will be PS1 dash? As PO dash is Y, PS1 dash will be Y minus D by 2. How is it so? Because as distance between S1 and S2 is D, distance between S1 dash O dash will be D by 2, and O dash S2 dash will be D by 2 again. So when I am saying distance or the PS1 dash about PS1 dash, it will be Y minus this. So that will be Y minus D by 2. And when I am asking about PS2 dash, it will be Y plus D by 2. Alright, this is what we are going to use in the derivation. So that's why I am telling you. So If the path difference we are considering as delta L, what will be path difference when the light wave is traveling? The difference between two paths. That means S2P is one path and S1P is another path. So the difference between the path will be S2P minus S1P, and that is denoted by delta L over here. Alright, so that is we are going to see what is it. If the path difference delta L between S1P and S2P is integral multiple of lambda, the two waves arriving there will be interfered constructively. This is the main point, and producing bright fringe at P. As we have discussed this concept, when constructive interference is there, we are getting high intensity and bright bands. But what is the condition for that? The path difference should be integral multiple of lambda. Okay, what will be for destructive then? If the path difference between S1P and S2P is half integral multiple of lambda, there will be destructive interference. And what fringes we are getting? Yes, we are getting dark fringes. Okay, so let's move toward the mathematical derivation. We are going to consider two triangles. First triangle is S1 S1 dash P, S1 S1 dash P. Here is the triangle, and the bigger one S2 S2 dash P. This is the another triangle. The smallest one which is at the upper part, and the biggest one which is at the down part. So that we are going to use. As you can see, here is the 90-degree forming. So let's see what exactly happens. By using first triangle S1 S1 dash P, you can get the value for S1P. How you are getting this value? By Pythagoras theorem itself. That will be S1 S1 dash square plus S1 dash P square. So you are getting value for S1P. What will be S2P then? S2P will be S2 S2 dash square plus S2 dash P square. So these are the two triangles by using which we are getting values for S1P and S2P. So here directly it is written S2P square minus S1P square. We are going to subtract them because we want the value of S2P minus S1P. Why? Because the path difference is S2P minus S1P itself. So by subtracting both of them, that is S2P square and S1P square, let us see what is S2P. From our conclusion, it is S2P square is nothing but S2 dash square, which is D square plus S2 dash P square. What is S2P? It is nothing but Y plus D by 2. So here it is so D square plus Y plus D by 2 bracket square minus S1P is nothing but D square plus Y minus D by 2 bracket square, because we are getting P S1 dash over here, na? So P S1 dash will be nothing but Y minus D by 2. So by squaring that, by solving this, D square and D square will get cancelled. This by solving the whole bracket, Y plus D by 2 square, you are getting only this term, which is 2YD. All the other term will get cancelled because negative sign is over here and many terms are similar. So we are getting 2YD only. So as we have seen, S2P square minus S1P square is 2YD. This can be written as S2P plus S1P, S2P minus S1P. Why is it so? Because A square minus B square is nothing but A plus B and A minus B. So as we want value for S2P minus S1P, by rearranging the term, we are getting 2YD divided by S2P plus S1P. This is very easy. Instead of this, I have written S2P minus S1P. Into second bracket, it was S2P plus S1P. By dividing that term to another side, we are getting this. And S2P minus S1P is nothing but path difference, which is denoted by delta L. So here it is, delta L. Now we are going to assume that S2P and S1P are nearly equal to D. So addition will be twice d. Okay, so by this you are getting delta L is equal to 2 yd divided by d plus d will be twice d. So this 2 and 2 will get cancelled. You are getting yd divided by capital D. You have to remember this. Where is the small d and where is the capital D? Don't shuffle. Capital D is in the denominator and small d is in the numerator itself. Now we don't know or we don't have any idea about the bright or dark point, right? So let us consider the interference pattern which happens over here is constructive. What is the condition for that? Path difference should be integral multiple of lambda. So this delta L should be integral multiple n lambda. But what is delta L? It is y d by d by considering n to the suffix of y. Yn being the position, that is y coordinate of nth bright fringe, because when we are considering constructive interference, the point which is formed is bright. So by shuffling all the things, we are getting yn as n lambda capital D upon small d. You have to remind this. We are going to use this for numericals. Then similarly, position of nth to get the dark fringe or for destructive pattern, it should be integral multiple of lambda by 2, or we can say odd integral multiple of lambda by 2. So that is given by n minus half of lambda. Okay, so by shuffling all these things, we are getting yn n minus half lambda d by d for destructive, and at that point is darker. Now the distance between any two successive dark or any two successive bright fringes is known as fringe width, and it is given by W, which is delta y is given as y n plus 1 minus yn. Next dark fringe or next bright fringe, and the difference between them is W, which is called as fringe width, and it is nothing but lambda d divided by d. Whether you are considering bright bands or dark band, in both the cases you are getting fringe width as lambda d by d. So both dark and bright fringes are equidistant and have equal widths. This is the main thing in interference pattern or interference band. All the bands which are dark, bright over there are equidistant and have equal widths. Okay, so this is all about the Young's double slit experiment. And next point that we are going to learn is relation between path difference and phase difference. You may get confused in phase difference and path difference, but both are the different terms and both are the different concepts. So let us move towards the difference between them. The relation between path difference, which is denoted by delta L, and phase difference, that we are going to denote it by delta phi. This sign is known as phi, is given by delta phi is equal to 2 pi divided by lambda into delta L. Simple. Now we are going to put the value for delta L over here. So delta phi is y d by d 2 pi by lambda. So in both the cases they have written, in constructive interference it is this, and in destructive interference the formula is this. So this is the main difference between path difference and phase difference. What is that? It should be 2 pi by lambda times path difference. Delta phi is equal to 2 pi by lambda times path difference. Okay, so this is all about interference. So what we exactly done in this part, we have seen interference, then we have seen types of interference, then Young's double slit experiment we have seen, coherent sources of light we have seen, and also at the last we have seen the difference between path difference and phase difference. So these are the main concepts which are related to interference. So I hope you all got the concept. If you have any query, please do comment, and after watching this video, please attempt the test so as to mark your attendance. Alright, so thank you so much for watching. We are going to produce part 5 of interference itself. So let's meet tomorrow for the next part. Thank you.